Hi friends, so we're diving into another deck today. This is the Small Mysteries Tarot by Melanie Davis, I believe. She's like an indie artist on Instagram. I actually got this deck from an Astral box, subscription box, which was themed around tarot, and this was the tarot deck that was in it. What I like about this, it does come with a little book. I find this book though to have too little information. I want something that has a bit more to it, but it does come with a book if you're learning and you want some like keywords or something, so that's nice. It's good that it does come with that. I do though need more than this because I'm new. This was my very first tarot deck, so I knew nothing Jon Snow about tarot, and I've learned a bit more now, but what I like about this deck is the size. So it's a glossy finish, which makes it very, very easy to shuffle. They just sort of glide along each other. Both back and front are glossy. And it's a very minimalist imagery and aesthetic, which is really cool. It's very, very cute. But what I struggled with this deck, and what I didn't realize when I originally got this, is just how important imagery is and just how important the style of imagery is. I touched base on this on my tips for beginners because I found I was struggling to learn and I wasn't really connecting with the imagery, because a lot of people say, look at the imagery, study it, and how does it make you feel? But because this is quite minimal and it doesn't really follow the imagery, it's based on Waite, but the imagery is the artist's own interpretation completely. Like, there really isn't a whole lot in a lot of these cards that follows the Waite imagery. So I was struggling to I don't know, the sun, this doesn't really tell me much, whereas the sun in the Waite deck tells me a lot, so I was struggling to connect with this. And obviously I can look up online, and I was looking up online more interpretations about the meanings of the cards, but I wasn't looking up the imagery. So I struggled with this deck. I don't anymore, now that I understand the importance behind the traditional imagery. I do use this. I use this as like a clarifier. This is usually the second deck that I pull from to get some clarification on something if I need it. But I love it. I absolutely love it. It's not typically my aesthetic that I would normally go for, but I was just so excited and so eager and so keen to get my first tarot deck that I went with the Astral box, and this was in it. So this is the back of the cards, just a black and white. They're all black and white. Really cute aesthetic. Not necessarily my go-to, but still really cute. And they're really, like, they fit my hand nicely. They're easy to shuffle. One thing though that I have found, which is probably a bit of a flaw, and I don't know if it's going to be too obvious to see, is that a lot of this, like the sides and the corners, have sort of nicked and started to I don't know, what do you say, like, not fray, it's paper, but like kind of not torn, but just, worn. And I've not had this deck for a very long time. Yes, I use it pretty much every time I pull a card, but none of my other decks have done that. So, I mean, understandably, this is just a little indie brand. So, maybe, I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much, but it is the deck that is starting to sort of fade the quickest, and I've only had it a few months, so but I don't mind that. I kind of like when decks start to look worn and used. That makes me feel that they're very well loved and very well used, and they've given a lot of guidance and help and assistance throughout someone's life. So I don't mind that so much, but I was surprised to see that starting to happen so quickly. But yeah, she's cute. She's a cute deck, and she's been very, very helpful. But I did struggle with her in the beginning. She was my first deck, and I couldn't connect with the imagery. I couldn't understand what people were saying. Study the imagery. How does it make you feel? But like Seven of Knives here doesn't really make me feel much. Do you know what I mean? So it took me a month or two to really figure that out. But now that I understand that, and I have a Waite deck, plus I have a book as well, which has Waite imagery in it, it has just made so much more sense, and I've really been able to learn. Even though these the imagery on here, it's very pretty and I like it, it doesn't tell that story, but I still use it because I understand now that this kind of imagery is maybe more for slightly more advanced readers, or if you're happy to look up in a book alongside this, do that as well. But definitely whenever I recommend someone a deck, whenever someone asks, I always say to go for something a little more traditional than these sort of modern imagery styles, because it's just going to make it so much easier to learn. But there's nothing wrong with these per se, but for learning, this was a struggle bus for me. So yeah, I love her. I do really enjoy her, and I'll link to where you can find the Small Mysteries Tarot, because she is just a little indie artist. I think just mostly on Instagram. I found her through the Astral Box, and I follow her now on, I think it's a her. God, I'm gonna be putting my foot in my mouth if it's not, but I believe it is. And yeah, they're cute. They're a good little size, good for travel, I guess, because they don't really take up much space. But I like using her alongside my other decks to sort of clarify if I need it. So yeah, she's cute, she's fun, and yeah, I like her. She's good, she's fun, and now that I understand her, we've connected a lot better. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you like this style of minimal sort of decks, let me know down below. Thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, so I can see you in my next video. Bye guys.